Hello and welcome to the Stephanie Herman Show. Tonight's show is going to be very exciting. We're going to be doing wine and food together. We're going to talk about women in wine and the great foods that go with wine pairing. So we're going to start tonight with Sharon Harris of Rare Cat Wines and Amici Cellars. So let's go right to that wine tasting right now. Sharon, hi, how are you? It's so nice to have you.
So good to be here.
I want to know how you got into the wine business.
You know, I did a junior year abroad in France, and I ended up going to Bordeaux. And one horrendously cold November morning, I ended up at Aubryon, one of the greatest wine chateaus in the world. And it was literally on that day, walking through their caves and tasting wine out of their barrels, that I literally fell in love with wine. And when you talk to people who love wine, they tend to always have this one experience that has compelled them to be a great wine lover.
How old were you then?
20 years old.
Okay.
But it's legal in France to drink at 20 years old. So I turned 21 in Bordeaux.
Exactly. By the first class.
By the first class, yeah. Yeah,
Literally.
And really it was a year that changed my life, but it was really a day that made me fall in love with wine. And it took a while to get into the wine industry. At the time in the early 80s when I was taking a look at wine, the wine industry was a little bit new in Napa Valley, and there wasn't as many opportunities there. So it took me a while to get there, but I finally did.
What year did you start the Amici Cellars was first?
Amici Cellars was first. Amici Cellars got started by a group of friends in 1992.
Over a table with some glasses of wine?
Absolutely. And my first experience was corking and labeling. The first year I was on corking, and then I moved up to labeling the second year in 1993. And it was we just fell in love with it. Both my husband and I loved wine. He fell in love with it. And we moved, eventually bought a property up in Napa about 12 years ago, and then now we're living there full time.
And the birth of Rare Cat Wines was when?
Well, Rare Cat Wine is really, gosh, the epitome of a dream come true. Rare Cat Wine, and our first wine is being released right now. It's our new, I guess, our new baby. But it's a culmination of just years and years of really having a passion for wine. And it's, for us, a chance to try to make the most exquisite wine possible with using every resource we can. And so Rare Cat's brand new. Amici Cellars has just been a fantastic winery for us. And then we also have a new brand that we're launching at the end of this year called Common Dog, which is a faithfully good wine, something that's geared towards people who want a really wonderful everyday drinking wine.
Common Dog.
Common Dog.
Right.
Yeah.
And Rare Cat, where did you get that name from?
Well, the goal on Rare Cat Wines is really to make a wine that is really exquisite. And how I define that, or I guess when we think about wines that are exquisite, they're wines that are really very elegant from the start to the finish. They've got a regal balance in the mouth. But also it's this obsession that we have with aromas and textures. And so when I think of a wonderful wine, some epic wines, I always think about wines that are complex, that reveal themselves over time, almost like a beautiful woman or a temptress.
Women in wine.
Women in wine. And a Rare Cat is actually a woman of such magnificent beauty. She's a rarity. A Rare Cat is actually a rare beauty. So when we came across this wonderful word, we just thought, this is it. This is exactly what we're trying to do with a wine.
So shall we taste it?
Absolutely. This is a Sauvignon Blanc. This is our first wine that's being released under the Rare Cat brand. It's very special for many reasons. It's called Rare Cat Lionheart Series, and every year, going back, I mean, a Rare Cat is a beautiful woman, but it's also someone of rare beauty. And this wine specifically is dedicated to someone who's made a quiet and wonderful difference in their community.
Are you going to try some too with me?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Can I share?
Oh, I would love you to share. It's also the sound of the clinking of the glasses. That's
absolutely.
The senses that you're trying to.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Listen to that.
So this wine here is actually, in our first wine, it's a wine, it's called Rare Cat Lionheart, and every year we are dedicating this wine to someone who's made a quiet difference in their community. And then the profits from this wine goes to their charity of choice. So this concept of a Lionheart was started by a dear friend of ours who passed away last year, who really had an exceptional way of making people feel special. And to me, a lot of wine and sharing of wine and being together is about offering something to someone else and making someone else special.
Thank you.
And so thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's beautiful. How would you describe some of the flavors? And it has this aftertaste, too, that never ends.
Yeah. Well,
What are some of the flavors that were?
This is a wine that's primarily Sauvignon Blanc, and there's a couple clones of Sauvignon Blanc, but it has all those beautiful fruit flavors, all those tropical fruits. You can find the pineapple, but you have white peach.
Taste the pineapple.
The pineapple.
I taste the peach.
All the
Right.
tropical, so it has all that beautiful, all those beautiful aromas, and those are classic markers of a Sauvignon Blanc. And then we blend in a little bit of Chardonnay, and the reason why we did that is we love that rich mouthfeel, something that makes it kind of opulent in the mouth, but we're not losing the gorgeous acidity at the end. And so this wine keeps all that gorgeous Sauvignon Blanc, the characteristics of white peach and apple and tropical fruits. And then you also have that complexity and rich mouthfeel, and then the sweet acidities that end. So it makes your mouth water a little bit when you drink it.
The flavor stays with you for so long.
Now this is a really, again, our goal is to try to make the best wines possible using everything that we can and our resources. This was actually a barrel fermented Sauvignon Blanc, so literally for month after month this was fermenting in oak barrels, neutral oak barrels, and stirred on a weekly basis. So it's a very complex, it's a very big Sauvignon Blanc. And this wine has actually been opened already for a couple hours. So it'll start opening up and really becoming a little young adult and maybe about the November time frame. But this wine will last. This Sauvignon Blanc will last for about 5 to 7 years, which is quite remarkable for a Sauvignon Blanc.
And we were talking earlier about the women, the way we taste wine, and men tasting wine. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it's funny, I love this idea of women and wine, and part of it comes from my love of Bordeaux and seeing these women in Bordeaux who I think are making a remarkable difference for the Bordeaux wine market. But at first, these women really weren't supported by their peers or the industry. It's a very old, ancient historic place for making wines, but women haven't been able to influence it much. And then I looked at Napa and I think about these remarkable women winemakers, and we have a little bit of a shorter history in Napa. However, the women have made such an important marker in gearing that history. And I thought at first, wouldn't it be great to bring these women together and to learn and share experiences? But also, as women in the wine industry, I thought it was really important to take our vocabulary and our ability to sense wine and do a better job communicating that with women who love wine. Women have a better palate for wine, actually. It's interesting. 60% of wine is bought by women. And yet, I think that there's a barrier sometimes for women. They don't feel as comfortable buying fine wines, or it seems a little bit intimidating. So taking the women in wine and helping to communicate better to women wine consumers is just a passion of mine.
So we should give them encouragement
Absolutely.
to go out there and buy the fine wines. Don't be afraid, because it's really good.
Wow.
So what else do we have here?
So I brought a couple different wines. The Rare Cat is our first release. We have a Chardonnay and a Cabernet, but they're, 6 months and a year off. And I brought another, this is our other wine label. This is the wine that we started corking in '92. It's been in the market really commercially viable since '97. And Amici, we've been really fortunate with this brand. It makes lovely wines, but at what would be perceived in the market as a good value. And in the recent couple
What
years,
would the price of this be normally?
this runs about
The range?
$39, $49. It's a Napa Cab. The fruit comes from St. Helena and Rutherford. It's a beautiful Napa Valley Cabernet, but it's also a food wine. It's crafted and made specifically to pair with foods.
Which we'll be talking about later.
Exactly. Let me try this. Now this is a 2004. Each year it blends a little bit differently depending on the fruit.
Are you happy with the 2004?
Yes, very much so.
Are you happy with the 2009 or 2010?
We were very lucky with our 2009 because we were able to harvest our fruit. There was a big storm in October of 2009 that altered the landscape for some individuals because it made it a difficult weather issue in 2009. All of our fruit came in prior to that. And we were able to bring it in because the fruit was ready.
You can't change the environment.
No, it's farming.
Do you
and
pray?
So you pray a lot. you do whatever you need to.
And when
yes.
you see a storm coming, you just
pray.
pray.
Yeah.
Can you sometimes ruin the whole harvest because of bad weather?
Absolutely. It's you know, at the end of the day, every year you are given a crop of fruit, and every year you have a new palette to work with. So one could think, well, gosh, winemaking's so easy. You just do the same thing year to year, and it's just absolutely not the case. Every year is different. Every year you have to take different techniques and do different things to achieve the ultimate mix for your ultimate balance for your wine. 2009 was a wonderful year. We had perfect weather. There was a heat spike that hit some individuals. We were pretty lucky. We didn't have any influences there. And we were able, our grapes were ripe and just had a beautiful, beautiful mouthfeel in 2009. 04, this is a 95% Cabernet with Merlot. And again, our philosophy is really just a regal balance and trying to make wines that pair beautifully with foods and don't necessarily overpower
I just
foods.
love listening to you describe the wines and everything about it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Here we go again.
Now listen to that.
Here's to you at home, too.
Nice.
That will go very well with our wine pairing later.
I think so too.
I think so too.
And
what
that's
else
got a lot
do we
of
have?
deep, rich cherry, gorgeous chocolate, lots of cafe. It's just, but what I love about this is that when you taste the fruit, it's very fresh. You know, the fruit comes out, it's not jammy, it's not necessarily overly ripe. It's just it's almost like a cherry pie in the sense, but it's got a lovely, lovely fresh fruit taste to it. And that's something I really enjoy about that wine.
It is very cherry pie.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Now, do you ever have this with dessert, cherry pie? Or it'd be too similar?
You know what this is remarkable with? It's remarkable with duck. With the Sauvignon Blanc, and especially this one, I love this just as an aperitif. I mean, for me, this is so, it's got so much complexity. I will open it up cold and drink it. But this is great with hard cheeses, especially some of the wonderful hard cheeses. It's fantastic with salmon. It's fantastic with chicken. I mean, it just complements so many things because of that gorgeous acidity. To me, the Cabernet and this wine here, I mean, can't you imagine just a duck with that? And that gorgeous cherry with a reduction.
With a Madeira sauce.
Absolutely.
Right.
Or a beautiful lamb. I mean, it's just...
Have the lamb later.
Oh, I hope he's going to talk about the lamb.
He will talk about the lamb.
Or a beautiful steak. It's just meant for, you know, to complement that type of food. This is a fun wine. This is also a Amici Cellars. This is our Pinot Noir, and this comes from actually Mendocino County. It comes from a part of Mendocino right outside of the town, about 1,000, 2,000 feet up. And it comes from this beautiful vineyard up there. There's 3 different clones, and each one of the clones, and what's interesting, I love actually tasting these clones separately and blending this wine and coming up, helping to put this wine together, because each one of the clones are so drastically different, and by blending them together, it really brings out the complexity.
Just like perfume, making perfume.
It is. And
perfume for the palate.
It is perfume for the palate. And it's using a lot of wine experts, really, their knowledge of aromas came from the perfume industry.
Well, I would love to taste this with you, and then I think we need to go on to our food wine pairing.
Wonderful.
And that way we'll have a chance to taste all of this wonderful wine.
Well, cheers. Thank you for
Sharon,
having me.
thank you so much
appreciate
for
it.
coming. And let me taste this. Oh, this is wonderful.
Wonderful. Well,
Viewers out there, this is really great. Grab your glass of wine. And now we're going to bring to you the grape dance. And I choreographed this dance to symbolize the harsh weather that is with growing of the grapes and the vines and the trellises that separate these vines that are trying to grow. And you'll see in this dance how the struggle of the wine business and the growing of the grapes is. And look for the hidden wine glass in the shapes, okay? Sit back, relax, and let's watch this show. Did you see the wine glass in that dance? I hope so. Anyway, right now we're going to be meeting Dave Hyman from Encore Performance Catering, and he's going to talk about wine pairing. Dave, thank you so much for being
pleasure.
here.
I'm excited.
So tell me, what would you have with white wine or a Sauvignon Blanc?
The poached salmon.
And how did you make this poached salmon?
The poached salmon, the secret to that is the longer you can let it simmer, the poaching liquid. I used at least 2/3 of wine. I used Chardonnay in one of them. And
2/3 of wine?
2/3 wine to 1/3, 1 part water. And you want to use a lot of simmering. You want to simmer it for at least 45 minutes and lots of real butter and lots of real garlic and capers and little seasoning salt. And the longer you let it simmer before you put the actual salmon face down, skin down, the better.
Wow.
And so,
Do you
and
mind
then
if
the
I
sauce,
try it?
please try it, and then I'll tell you about the sauce in a second.
Tasting?
But the longer, 45 minutes to an hour at least, let it simmer.
How come it's so tender too?
You don't want to overcook it. Most people overcook fish. And the sauce is a ranch dressing with a Grey Poupon and some capers and garlic powder.
Do you make your own ranch dressing?
No, that's the only thing I don't make. But the again, the sauce, you let it sit overnight.
You should taste this. It's
I'm
really
gonna try
good
a little
together.
bit. Yes, I'm going to try a little bit, and I'm also going to try some of the wine.
Yes, the wine is beautiful. And the pairing is just great. So there's the white wine over there. So tell me, how did you get into the catering business? After you've experienced this wonderful feeling of the wine and the food together.
When I was in high school, I was a busboy, and I got hooked right away with the hustle bustle and the clinking of the glasses like you were doing, and the deglazing of the sauté pans with Marsala wine, the aromas. 40 years later, I can still smell the aromas. And there's the excitement of people flirting and drinking and carrying on, and you have to love the restaurant business because it's so fast-paced.
And how many years have you been in it now?
30 years. And
he has catered some of my birthday parties, and he's going to be catering it again. He's great, fabulous.
Thank you.
are part of the party.
No, thank you.
I mean, you become family.
Well, I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
one of the benefits of, I've been self-employed because I enjoy the people and the venues, and I never know what menus they want or where I'm going to be. It's not boring.
No.
And my attention span's pretty bad, so this is perfect for my personality. Perfect.
So I hear you were in the Navy SEALs too.
Yes, that was how I ended up, was another story, but I was Navy SEAL for 4 years, from 1974 to 78. And I always wanted to get out and get right back into the restaurant hospitality business. And I worked 5 years as a general manager at a seafood restaurant. And then I realized I don't want a restaurant, I want to be my own self-employed boss. And so I started my catering business 23 years ago.
And you've got great people working for you.
Great people on call.
Right.
And I'm enjoying it now more than I ever have.
This is so good.
Oh,
I
thank
want
you.
to eat more, but I want to find out more about what you would serve with the Cabernet.
The Cabernet is the lamb. It's in lollipop lamb chops. And
Why do they call it lollipop? Because it looks like a lollipop?
Yes, well, this is a little bigger, but most of the time you can just right in your mouth.
There you go. Now you're going to have to taste the wine. Does it work?
It works.
Should we keep it?
It's a keeper.
Okay.
And again, the secret of this is you want to marinate the lamb for at least 2 days.
Are we marinating it with 2/3 wine now?
No. Extra virgin olive oil.
Okay.
And real garlic and a little rosemary and kosher salt and white pepper. People don't realize white pepper is the secret for this.
Wow.
And so the longer you can marinate it, the better. And then I usually grill it. I prefer grilling and then broiling.
How long do you grill it for? Oh, you grill it first, like sear it.
Well, 2 minutes on each side if you're going to grill it. And if you're going to broil it, at least 2 minutes. And if you're roasting it, it takes a little longer. These happen to be roasted today, but normally I like to grill it.
So, can I have a taste here?
Please.
I don't want to do the lollipop look here.
See if we can cut off a little
Delicately.
little
go.
team effort here.
This is not very delicate,
no.
but
No.
okay. Well, I think
what?
I'm going to have
Here's a
to do the
small-
lollipop
do the
effect
lollipop.
here. So let me see.
So a Pinot goes great with that, a Cabernet, a Syrah, Petit Syrah, Merlot.
Excuse me, I'm just getting into that flavor there. So where do you get your herbs?
I get them at Sagona's is a great place here near Redwood City, in Redwood City. That's it's a very good market.
Oh my God, that's so wonderful. I wish I could have everybody taste it at home. Can you close your eyes for a second and just pretend you're taking a taste of this beautiful lamb that's flavored in rosemary and garlic and olive oil, and now taste the Cabernet?
I think I'll have another one with you.
Great, great. So let's say we have a dessert here. What would you say would go with one of your desserts? Mention like a dessert. Pick a dessert that you normally would cater with.
One of my most popular desserts is fruit dipped in chocolate.
Okay, so what wine would you do with that?
I would do a port.
Okay.
I definitely do a port.
Like there's so many ports,
Oh,
though.
there's so many. A port, and I will also do a Cabernet. Okay. You can't go wrong with Cabernet also with. And then the fruit dipped in chocolate, and also I do mini pastries, eclairs, cheesecakes, cream puffs.
And they would go with?
I would go with a Sauvignon or a Chenin Blanc or some kind of, those two mostly, right.
And when you do a catering event, do you ever do wine pairing, or is it just basically two?
Normally I don't. Normally it's the customer has one or two particular wines that they want to serve with their entree or the appetizer.
So let's suggest an appetizer. What are some of the appetizers, and what wine would you suggest to go with an appetizer?
Well, one of my favorites is dates, almonds, and bacon.
Okay.
And
what would you?
And that's definitely, again, a Cabernet would be great with that. Pinot. A Pinot would be very good with that. The bacon caramelizes with the date, and then the almonds.
So how would you prepare this for viewers back home?
I just told you, it's the simplest thing. You take an almond, roasted almond, you stick it in a date, you wrap bacon around it, you take a frilled toothpick, you put it in the oven. Frilled toothpick, and you put it in the oven until it's cooked to the consistency you want, and then you blot it, and it takes about 4 or 5 minutes at 350 degrees. A simple, simple appetizer.
Wow.
Another popular one is mushrooms and puff pastry.
Okay.
I take mushrooms and I saute them in wine and shallots and garlic and white pepper.
2/3 wine?
Always 2/3. Always. You're good. You're catching on. And then you put them in puff pastry, and you brush it with a little Italian dressing, and you just let them cover itself naturally in the oven for about 6-8 minutes till it's golden brown. That's a perfect, simple appetizer to do. Very, very simple. Yeah.
Dave, I'm so glad you came to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank everybody at home for joining us, and I hope that you have a chance to do some wine pairing and wine tasting at home with yourself. So I hope to see you soon. Thank you and goodbye.